What is up? It is January 19th, 2017, and this is episode 7 of Counterculture, and I've been out for a minute. I think my last video was a couple months ago, so basically I live a real life. I've been working a lot, been out of town, and so I've really been wanting to get back behind the microphone and continue podcasting. So for those of you that check in, thank you for listening today. As I mentioned, today is January 19th, 2017. And as you may well know, tomorrow is the inauguration of our 45th president, Donald Trump. And I wanted to focus today's podcast. It's titled #DisruptJ20 because I feel like the eve of the inauguration, it's very important to raise some alarms, educate some people, and put into context what's been transpiring for probably the last couple of days, maybe the last few weeks. Essentially, many socialist, communist, I don't even want to call them liberal, revolutionary groups, let's just call them, they call themselves anti-fascist, really. Other people would probably come up with different labels. I call them terrorists, and you'll see why in a minute, are plotting to disrupt the January 20th inauguration of Donald Trump. And I have an issue with this, and I must say I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, and I feel like I always have to say that because anytime that you oppose Trump opposition, you immediately be put in a category of Trump sympathizer, Trump supporter. I was not and never have been a Trump supporter. What I am a supporter of is law and order. What I am a supporter of is freedom and rule of law, free and fair elections, First Amendment protest being protected under the First Amendment. What I am opposed to is violence. What I'm opposed to is terrorism. And I believe that this #DisruptJ20 is going to conceive this. And the reason I say that, and if any of you guys are following the news, you may know why I'm concerned. We have tens of thousands of people descending on Washington, D.C. right now from all different flavors and ends of the political spectrum, from Trump supporters to people who are opposed to Trump, to security, military, police, media, politicians. We're going to have millions of people descend or have already descended on Washington, D.C., which I believe is fertile ground for a terror attack. You have Project Veritas, James O'Keefe. If you've not heard of this, go to YouTube, type in Project Veritas. There's videos of #DisruptJ20 organizers plotting various acts of terrorism to disrupt the peaceful transition of power tomorrow, January 20th. In one video, we have two guys, I was going to call them gentlemen, but they're far from that, plotting to put, forgive me for not being able to pronounce this, some sort of acid, butyric acid, I may have mispronounced that, into the HVAC system of the National Press Club, where there's going to be a pro-Trump event taking place, which would essentially cause a stampede and could result in the death of hundreds of people. That's terrorism. You can be put in prison, as you should, and under the U.S. code, you can face the death penalty. We have them on video admitting to this. We also have on video various far left-wing, radical socialist groups, I would call them terror groups, planning to attach chains to the Washington Metro rail line and block traffic with pedestrians and completely, to quote them, create a cluster F, and I'm sure you know what the F word is, on J20 Inauguration Day. This is on video, guys. We know what their intentions are. We know what they plan to do. What's extremely troubling about this information is that the media, and when I say the media, I'm referring to the corporate-controlled media, have not focused on this. We don't have any indication that the FBI has done anything. What I do know is that there is the U.S. Attorney's Office, their anti-terrorism task force, looking into it after James O'Keefe released these videos. And so that's a good thing. And as a result, they've decided to scale back plans. But do we necessarily believe that? I don't know. That could potentially be some just public relations. Two of the individuals that were featured in the video were actually going to attend that event in the National Press Club. It's called Deplorable. I guess, remember when Hillary called Trump supporters deplorables? It's funny how she calls these people, Trump supporters, deplorables. What's truly deplorable is intending to commit acts of terrorism domestically against your fellow citizens. That's Civil War stuff, guys. Can you imagine if Tea Party groups in 2012 were caught on video planning to disrupt the inauguration of Barack Obama? You do the math. So what we have now is two of those individuals featured in that video were actually going to attend Deplorable, and as a result of the videos, the organizer of that event refunded those tickets, placed restraining orders on these guys, and they're not going to be attending anymore. And what I find really interesting about this whole thing is a WorldNet Daily article titled "Protesters to Go Hard During Trump Inaugural." They feel they kind of have a free pass because they believe that this is their last chance to do something this bold because they feel they have a pass under the Obama administration. I'm going to read a portion of the article just to give context to this. Now again, this is Jeff Ruda, former Democratic elected official, executive director of the St. Louis Police Officers Association, and the author of a book, The War on Police, How the Ferguson Effect is Making America Unsafe, has said, quote, "The Obama administration from top to bottom has glamorized unlawful, riotous demonstrations as some sort of righteous social movement to be adored and coddled. Not so, not in a land of law and order that recognizes that one of Americans' freedoms end when they infringe on the peaceful existence of another American. This is our only chance to fight Trump under the laws and police protocol of the Obama era." We have the ACLU forcing DC police to turn off body cameras during the inauguration. We have a change of the National Guard. If you didn't catch the news, the general of the National Guard there in DC will be removed from his post a minute after Trump takes the oath of office, which is highly unusual in my opinion and the opinion of others. Why would there be a transfer of power over the National Guard, the very entity that's put in place to ensure peace during this event in Washington, D.C., at the very moment that Trump takes power? Very bizarre. I don't know why, but it does raise some questions and some red flags. We have a lot of these groups that are tied to George Soros. If you don't know who George Soros is, he's the international philanthropist that has invested, and I use that word creatively, hundreds of millions of dollars into political movements around the world to overthrow governments. He has been associated with many of the groups that are behind hashtag #DisruptJ20. Very, very troubling. So, in addition to that, you have the media pushing this idea that Trump could be killed during the inauguration. And I'm going to read another article from WorldNet Daily. Actually, no, that's not WorldNet Daily. I apologize. This one is actually, give me a second here, guys. CNN, disaster could put Obama cabinet member in the Oval Office. So essentially, there's protocol during inaugurations that if in the event members of Congress and the chain of command from the vice president down to the Speaker of the House, if all of these people that would assume the presidency in the event that something were to happen to the president, that it's set up legally that a member of the existing, or maybe call it previous, administration would then become president. What's bizarre about this is that CNN has actually been reporting on this. Who would be in charge if an attack hit the incoming president just as the transfer of power is underway? But it won't be a Trump cabinet secretary. It will be an Obama appointee, reports CNN. The report emphasizes that a president from the prior administration will take power if there is an attack due to the fact that none of Trump's cabinet secretaries have been confirmed yet. Why would CNN would choose to cover this? I just find it really bizarre that CNN is making these claims, especially in the context of everything that I just mentioned with the terrorists, and that's what I'm going to call them, intending to disrupt J20, the change of the National Guard, the police turning off their body cameras, and all of this other nonsense. Now, in addition to that, the Secret Service is very worried. This is another WorldNet Daily article, and essentially the head of the Secret Service has been warning his team that things are at very high alert, and they're to take all precautions during the inauguration, unprecedented, unlike we've ever seen before. So I don't blame them. I pray for all the people that are going to be going to Washington, D.C. If you guys are going there, please be safe. We have another group called Bikers for Trump. A lot of these guys are self-described Christians, self-described family men, self-described patriots that intend to be there, and they call themselves sort of a second wall, a group that will stand behind law enforcement and act as a human shield, even for the March for Women, who may be disagreeing with them politically, but these men have decided to protect them nonetheless, and will be there in full brigade. As I got family that are into bikes, and some of these are the best people in the world, unlike how Hollywood will portray them. So you have those guys that are going down there. I don't know if Oath Keepers is going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised. This is all in light of a hack that took place. This is out of Gateway Pundit. Hashtag Disrupt J20 far left terror group's Twitter account hacked, documents posted online. And they go into some of the chants that they're going to be chanting at the event. Call Trump and Pence. Don't wait, don't see. Stop them now in the name of humanity. We refuse a fascist America. Our body, our choice. Their body, their choice. In the streets, Occupy DC. PUSSY grabbing, hell no. Immigrant bashing, hell no. Muslim registry, hell no. Build that wall, hell no. White supremacy, hell no. Neo-Nazis, hell no. Homophobia, hell no. Climate change denying, hell no. Donald Trump, hell no. Mike Pence, hell no. Give them a chance, hell no. I'm just going to stop there, and what I wanted to say is everyone's entitled to free speech. As long as they are doing this peacefully, they're protected under the First Amendment to do that. I just want to point out the ridiculousness of a lot of this, because when you think about Donald Trump and his administration, when he speaks the way that he did, which I would believe was very inappropriate, that has absolutely nothing to do with policy. It has to do with character. And we had a free and fair election, and the people of the United States, whether you agree or disagree, chose Donald Trump. The Electoral College, and if you've seen that map, the general country spread around voted for Donald Trump. It was within pockets of these urban centers that voted for Hillary Clinton. So apparently in a free and fair election, most of America didn't believe that his character concerns were enough were enough to stop him to assume the role of president. Yet these groups insist that it is, and I just find that ridiculous, because we had a free and fair election. Their candidate lost, and so what we need to do now is move forward, the same way that the conservative groups and the people that supported the opponents of Barack Obama had to move forward in 2008 and 2012. I don't see where he has indicated he's a white supremacist. I don't see any indication of, quote, homophobia. I'm not even sure what that really means. I mean, I have an idea of what they mean, what it means, but and then, of course, climate change denying, Trump has indicated that, that he doesn't believe in this notion of man-made global warming. And, they all have a right to say that. But again, I go back to this idea that we had a free and fair election. And if you do not support Trump's policies, I would encourage people to work with their representatives and build a grassroots movement where you inform people of your point of view, rather than committing acts of violence. So these were just some of the documents that came out of this hack, and just find it very interesting that, this is the position of where they stand. So what else do we have here? DC cops preparing for mass arrests at Trump inauguration. They're going to be setting up mobile booking stations across the city to process thousands of people. We have a virtual fortress as 250,000 protesters descend upon the city. Miles of fencing and roadblocks fortified by sand-laden dump trucks and other heavy equipment. And so there's going to be a lot of security. People have forecast that some 900,000 people, both supporters and opponents, will flood Washington for the inauguration ceremony. 30 groups that organize claim they will draw about 270,000 protesters. Trump backers have received permits for rallies or marches before, during, and after the swearing in, along with groups that were opposed to Trump. By far, the biggest protest will be the Women's March on Washington on Saturday, which organizers expect to draw 250,000 people. What I find also interesting is that we're going to have another group for marijuana passing out 4,200 doobies. I think that's actually a good idea. They should probably give 270,000 doobies out so that all these protesters can calm the heck down. As we've said before, we wish all the protesters the best of luck. We're sure your dreams of disrupting the democratic process will be rewarded with a free night stay at a local DC jail, says Zero Hedge. I disagree. I think that if you're going to protest peacefully, you have a right to do so. If you disagree with this man's policies and you believe that his character is more important than the threat that Hillary Clinton posed, you're entitled to that opinion. What we need to be vigilant and what we need to stop and oppose is terrorism and violence upon peaceful people. There's going to be children there. There's going to be brothers, sisters, moms, dads there. And we live in a country of law and order. And we have people on videotape that are clearly enemies of our way of life, clearly enemies of the law, and they need to be dealt with. And I'm just podcasting today, the day before the inauguration. Haven't done this in a couple months, but I felt, man, if I'm going to jump back in the saddle and do this counterculture thing again, I got to do it on hashtag DisruptJ20, just because I don't feel good about tomorrow, guys. I just have a really bad feeling. I don't think that tomorrow is going to be a good day. And I think we all just need to pray for everybody's safety tomorrow. If you're going out there, be safe, be aware of your surroundings, know what you're dealing with, know who's out there. I wanted to actually quote, an article that was sort of quoting what these quote-unquote protesters were saying at these meetings, and it looks like I screwed up and did not paste the right articles. So forgive me, guys. As you mentioned, this is my 7th podcast. I haven't done it in a couple months, so I'm not really good at this. So I don't have it in front of me. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it right here. The last thing I just wanted to share with you was an article titled "Reveal Training Camp Where Protesters Plan to Disrupt." This is from vocative.com. And essentially, this article says that 6 days before Donald Trump inauguration, dozens of people from at the American University in Washington, D.C. were able to listen to a lawyer in how to break the law tomorrow to disrupt the inauguration. And of course, American University did the wise thing and legally distanced themselves from it because they would be implicated in and would be accessories to law breaking. But essentially, we just had hundreds of people, going in there figuring out how to break the law. And we just have an army of people, guys, that are disputing a free and fair election. They didn't get their way. I would call it a giant temper tantrum. I got a 3-year-old, and when she asks, I want to watch a movie, she'll tell me, Papa, I want to watch a movie. And I'll say, no, baby, you can't watch a movie. It's just not time. Now I'm 35. I'm her father. I know what's best for her. She's 3 years old. She thinks that, eating chocolate and watching 12 hours of KPBS Kids is a really great idea. It's obviously not. When I tell her no, she whines and cries and throws things. Reason I bring that up is I'm literally witnessing an entire generation of millennials and even older, sadly, didn't get their way. They didn't get to get their president and watch KPBS Kids, Cat in the Hat, and eat chocolate all day. So now they're going to go to the streets and they want to create a cluster F, and they want to put acid into the deplorable. They want to chain subways down. They want to stand in the streets, disrupt traffic. They want to, quote, throat punch people because, quote, Nazis are cowards. So if you are a Trump supporter, according to these people, you're a Nazi. And they're just going to have a party, as they call it. In some of these videos, they're just going to say, we're going to have a big old party. So it's really sad that we're at this place in society. I'm not surprised, but I do grieve because it's not a joke when you consider that people are going to get hurt and may die. If you didn't get your way, go to the ballot box. Don't go to the bullet box. Convince people of your position through intellectual debate rather than through violence. That was what Martin Luther King preached. I think we need to heed the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. I think he exemplified what we really need right now, which is peaceful civil disobedience. If you really disagree with the policies of this man, re-elect new Congress. We have a system in place that allows disagreement and a change in policy in this country. It's supposedly a representative government. It's a Republican system, not in the sense of the Republican Party, but in the sense of we live in a republic which is governed by the people. So we don't need to go out there and commit acts of terror, guys. We have a system in place. Use it. So that's all I'm going to say today, guys. Sorry, I thought it was going to be a better podcast. I thought I had all my links lined up, and I didn't. It was actually, when I was writing notes for the podcast this morning, I pasted the same link over and over and over again. So I don't have any notes. I'm just kind of winging it right now. But I hope I got my point across. I'm going to be watching the inauguration tomorrow, guys. Continue to follow me at aaronlujan.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And take care. God bless. And I'll catch you guys next time on episode 8. Peace.